Hey everybody, welcome. We're just going to give it a minute or two, and we'll see if we get any more students showing up. Welcome, welcome. So everyone is here because they got the denial letter from us, correct? And you had the link to this on your letter. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. Awesome. Just want to make sure you're in the right spot. So try to keep yourself muted. If you do have a question during the presentation, my guess is it's going to take about 45 minutes, maybe 40 minutes or so. If you have a question during the presentation, go ahead and use the chat feature. One of our other advisors, Stephanie, is here, and she'll be monitoring the chat for any questions that you may have. And if you want to verbally ask a question, you can use your raise hand feature, and I should be able to see that when I'm doing the presentation. I'll just call on you. But we will have an open Q&A at the end of the session. So you can also hold your questions for the end of the session. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is our agenda here. This is, let me get that out of the way. This is kind of what we're going to be going over the next 45 minutes or so. And so we're going to talk about supplemental application eligibility requirements, some statistics for applying to the business major, most notably this upcoming fall semester, options for students that are not yet in the major, looking at major alternatives, and then we'll finish up with a Q&A. So this group is interesting. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a mix of new students for the fall, meaning you're brand new for fall 2021. And then we also probably have at least a few continuing students, so students that are already at Sac State. So I'll address kind of both groups and kind of go over options for both groups because it does change things a little bit, whether you're a new student or whether you're a continuing student at Sac State. So let's go ahead, and I am recording this, so if you want to, I will drop a link to our YouTube page, and I'll have it uploaded hopefully by tomorrow. So if you want to rewatch this, you'll be able to do that as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about the eligibility requirements for the business major. There's kind of two things that you need to do in order to be eligible to apply to the business major and be considered for the major. So the main criteria is you have to have 45 units completed. That's usually never a problem for anybody. That's basically you're on your way to being a junior. The second one and the fourth one are the big ones. So the second one is you have to have completed all lower division business prerequisite courses. The third one is you have to be in good academic standing at Sac State. This has no bearing on new students. You don't have an academic standing, but if you are a current Sac State student, you do have to be in good standing. So even if you've met all the other criteria, but for whatever reason you're on probation, you wouldn't be eligible for the major. And then the fourth one is the biggest thing, the biggest issue for our students, and that is the GPA. You're going to see on the application, on our website, in the catalog, it's going to say minimum overall GPA of 2.4 to apply. Now, that's cumulative GPA. Overall and cumulative is the same thing. But you're also going to need to keep in mind that below that, if you look on our website or on the application, it's going to say you will need a higher GPA to be competitive for the major. And that's typically around a 2.9. We'll go over some of the application statistics in just a couple slides, but typically we're looking at a 2.9 overall to get into the major. So the eligibility criteria must be completed, and you also have to meet the GPA cutoff. So kind of two things to keep in mind. You need to have all the prerequisites done at the time of application, and you need to meet the GPA cutoff. Those are the two main things. So what are those prerequisites? Now, this is the list of our prerequisites that we have at Sac State. Those of you who are new for the fall, coming from a community college, these courses will be something different. The titles may be similar. You can always use the website assist.org to figure out equivalents. So I'm going to type that into the chat for you. That is a great website to use to figure out, hey, I thought I took Math 24 at my community college, what would it be? Or I still need to take MIS 10, which course is that at my community college? So that assist.org website is very handy for figuring out course equivalencies. All right, so let's run through the 8 prerequisites that you'll need to have done. And I think with a group like this, we have about 30 students in here. It's a little hard because each student has an individual situation that they may have in terms of like not getting into the major, but there's 2 main groups that you fall into. Group 1, which this group, you're actually probably going to be okay. Group 1 is the reason you got the denial letter is you didn't have all these prerequisites done. Your GPA is fine. You were just either in progress with an accounting course or an econ course, or maybe you're missing Math 24. That is fairly easy to fix because you just need to take the prereq and then reapply it in the fall or in a future semester. So that's kind of group 1 of our students that didn't get in. Group 2 would be students who didn't make the GPA cutoff. So these would be students who maybe you've done all the prereqs, but your GPA is below the cutoff. That would be the second group of students and kind of the second reason that you wouldn't have gotten into the major. So we'll kind of address each group as we go through. But back to the actual prereqs. So we've got MIS 10, which is our 2-unit spreadsheets course. You may have seen MIS 1, 2, and 3. Those are our old computer literacy. As long as you took them this semester, meaning spring 2021 or earlier, we'll honor that in place of MIS 10. But you need to either have MIS 10 or previous to this semester and previous MIS 1, 2, and 3. MIS 1 is Microsoft Word, MIS 2 is Excel, and MIS 3 is PowerPoint. MIS 10 is our new course. It's a 2-unit Excel course or a 2-unit spreadsheets course. So we made a transition recently. Going forward, you will need to take MIS 10 if you haven't taken MIS 1, 2, and 3 or MIS 10 already. So that's the computer literacy course. Then we have Accounting 1 and Accounting 2. That's basically financial accounting and managerial accounting. Then we have Econ 1A and 1B, macro and micro. We have Math 24, which is modern business math. You can also use business calculus. You can also use any calculus course as long as it's not pre-calculus. All of those courses will count for Math 24. So Math 24, you can meet it in a variety of ways. Management 10, which is our business law, and then Statistics 1, which is our Intro to Statistics course. So those are the 8 courses that you would have to have done. If you don't have all of those done, then your application would have been denied automatically. Even if you just have 1 class in progress, let's say you're just doing Accounting 2, and that's all you had in progress for the spring semester, that's still reason to get denied into the major. But once again, if you're just missing 1 of these classes or 2 and your GPA is good, you can always reapply to the major in the future once you finish the classes. So that's one way to get back into the business major. All right, so those are the 8 courses that you'll need to be eligible for the major. The next slide goes over our application statistics, and this is all going to be for this fall. So this is all students who applied for this upcoming fall 2021 semester. So as you know, and as was stated in the letter, the GPA cutoff was a 2.95. We do expect the GPA cutoff to be around a 2.95 going forward. Maybe it'll drop to a 2.9. Maybe it'll go up to a 3.0, but we're expecting it to hover right around the 2.95 mark for the foreseeable future. Just so you know, some extra statistics, just for your personal knowledge, we had 1,427 applicants to the business major for fall 2021. That's a record number. Compare that to a year ago. So students who had applied for fall 2020, we were at like 1,100. So we had a huge number and a huge increase in applications. Out of those applicants, out of the 1,427, we admitted 879. So you can see our admit rates, it's over 50%. I can't do the math in my head, but that looks like it's probably around 65% admission rate for the program. So just one other statistic to keep in mind. And then another question that we get is, we hear all these questions about GPA boosts. The boosts are a little confusing. The boost only applies for the purposes of applying to the business major. It doesn't show up on your transcript. It's not a permanent boost. It's not something that goes on your records, but all local applicants, meaning local community colleges and current Sac State students, get a 0.1 GPA boost, but that's only for applying to the major. You may have heard of another 0.1 boost if you got an ADT, or if you were getting an ADT in business, but that 0.1 boost is not usable once you're at Sac State. So if you're going to reapply to the major in the fall as a student here, you don't get that extra 0.1 from the ADT anymore. You just get the 0.1 boost for being a local applicant. So if you can get to like a 2.85, you get a 0.1 boost. That'll put you at a 2.95 and put you into that competitive range for the major. All right. Looks like chat isn't blowing up yet, so that's good. Let's move on to the next screen. So what are your options? You got this denial letter. You're obviously confused on what to do. You feel like you're kind of lost probably. What are my next steps? What is my fall semester going to look like? And that's kind of the aim of this workshop. Try to ease some of your fears and give you some options going forward. So option number one is reapply to the major. Oh, I made a typo here. That should say incoming fall 2021 transfers. Sorry about that. Incoming fall 2021 transfers, you'll have another semester to reapply. So this, going back to those two groups that I was mentioning earlier, this is kind of good for group one. So if you're a student who you've got a good GPA, you're 2.95 or higher, and you were just missing some prereqs, you want to get those prereqs done as soon as possible so you can reapply to the major in the fall. We will have a application again to the business major. We always do it twice a year. And the dates range I will put into the chat. So it's September 1st to October 15th is the application window to apply next round to the business major. So if you are one of those students where you're going to be finishing the prereqs this semester or over the summer and you've got a good GPA, go ahead and just plan on reapplying to the major. You'll get in, hopefully, if you meet the GPA cutoff, you'll get in for the spring. And if you're a new student, you'll have plenty of classes to take for the fall semester. One of the main questions we get is, well, I know I'm not going to be in the major right away. What classes will I take? And we have some classes built in that you can take that all count towards your degree that you can take in the fall. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, everyone in the room is what's considered an expressed interest in business student. Expressed interest is not a real major. It's a placeholder. It's effectively undeclared. That's what your major is. You don't have a major, but you plan on eventually, hopefully getting into the business major. Now, you can't be expressed interest for very long at Sac State once you have this many units. You will get a registration hold at some point, most likely in the spring 2022 semester, if you haven't gotten into the business major or if you haven't switched to a different major. So that's just something to keep in mind, that you can't just kind of waver and languish in this expressed interest designation with the university because you're undeclared. So all of the new students at least have 60 units. Most of you probably have 70 or more. So you can't stay expressed interest for very long. You get about a 1 semester kind of grace period before you would have to either get into the business major or switch to a different major. All right, so let's move on. So the next option is to discover and define your career goals. It's important to know what you would enjoy doing. So you want to be sure of, if you end up choosing a different major, that it's going to meet your career goals. And there's services here for you and resources that we have that I'll get to in just a minute, that you'll have to be able to meet with like a career counselor or a faculty advisor to help kind of narrow down your focus and see really what you want to do career-wise and which major will help you get there easiest. Another thing you can do is get experience. Employers and grad schools value experience in the field of study that you're interested in. So even if you, let's say, don't end up majoring in business, you can still get internships in business. You can still get part-time jobs in business. You can still maybe even like get a minor in business. There's lots of options that we'll be going over for you if business does not end up being your major. And then obviously the last option, which we hate to say this, but it may be for someone who has a low GPA, the option may be to declare a non-impacted major. So to choose a different major outside of business that's not impacted that you can declare right away and just get started on in terms of classes for the fall. So these are kind of the main 4 options to kind of keep in mind as we go through. And then I did mention the business minor, so I want to run that by everybody. We do have a business minor. So the business minor is only open, at least the minor in business administration is only open to non-business majors. So if you end up switching out of the business major to something else, I really would recommend looking at the business minor. So the minor is about 23 units. It has 5 prerequisites, but the prerequisites are listed on the top of the screen here. They're literally the exact same prereqs, just less than the prereqs that there are to get into the normal business major. So you've got MIS 10, or 1, 2, and 3, Accounting 1, Accounting 2, Management 10, and Stat 1. You've also, once you're in the minor, you've got 4 more upper division classes to take. You've got HROB 101. You need to choose one from Finance, Marketing, or OPM. And then you have 2 upper division business electives. And these can be any 2 upper division business courses. For students already at Sac State, if you've taken DS and Management 102, you can use those as your 2 electives. So in many cases, students just need 1 more class for the business minor. So keep that in mind as we're kind of talking about alternative major options. The minor is always something that you can do. And the minor just requires a 2.0 and those first 5 classes to be completed. We also have minors in other areas. So we have a general business minor, which is what's on the screen. We also have minors in marketing. We have a minor in human resources. We have a minor in risk management. And our last and final minor is in real estate and land use. So if you're interested in business, but you don't want to do a general minor and you're interested in one of those other areas, you're more than welcome to declare one of those as your minor as well. So that is always an option for you. So once again, just keep in mind the business minor. The one thing, look at the yellow square here, you have to be declared in a different major to declare the business minor. So you can't be a business major or even expressed interest and do a business minor. That doesn't work, unfortunately. All right, let's see, let's go forward here. And remember, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat or you can use the raise hand feature. But once again, we'll have options, or sorry, we'll have a Q&A at the end of this, an open Q&A. So you can ask any questions that you have. So let's talk about looking at major alternatives. Remember that the business minor is always an option. So even if you switch to a different major, you can always declare the business minor. And one other thing I always like to mention about the business minor is we get a lot of feedback from students saying, I don't want to switch majors because I've already invested all this time into taking all these business classes and now I'm going to have to start over. And I totally get that sentiment. It's definitely true. But one thing to keep in mind is many of the majors that you will be looking at, and I'll be kind of displaying in just a minute, are low unit majors. So you're not necessarily starting over. You're actually picking a major that has less units and a quicker time to graduation. And the business minor can use almost all the courses that you've already taken. They can just go right into the business minor. So you don't have to feel like you're losing courses by doing that. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go through. All right. Keep an open mind when looking at other alternatives. You want to seek out another major's career options. And the best place to do this is our catalog. If you just go to catalog.csus.edu, it's going to have all of the majors listed. Each major has like, I don't know, 20 different career options pulled for, or that they put in the catalog that give examples of careers that you can do. So that's one way to look into a different major. But yeah, there's lots of different resources out there on our website that can give you some kind of inclination into what what you could do with a specific major. Next one is professional interviews. Oops. They can help determine major related options. So a professional interview or it is basically like you would go and interview someone, like what they do on a day-to-day basis in their job. It's also called an informational interview sometimes. So if you are interested in the field of marketing, you could find someone who works in the marketing field, kind of interview them about their daily life. A lot of times it's way different than what you think, and it can be a good way to kind of zero in on which major you want and what kind of career field that you want to go into. And then the last thing on this page, I haven't mentioned this yet, but at least here in the College of Business, we have an MBA, a Master's in Business Administration, and we also have a Master's of Science in Accounting. So those two are great options for you if you do end up switching to a different major, but you still want to get a degree in business. You can always graduate with your major, get your undergraduate degree, get your bachelor's degree. You can always come back and get an MBA or a Master's of Science in Accounting. Our MBA program is only 33 units, and you can get it done in as little as a year's time. The MS in accountancy is also, I think that one's 30 units, and you can finish that one in a year as well. And believe it or not, our MBA programs and our Masters of Science in Accounting are actually easier to get into compared to the undergraduate business major. So if you struggle to get into the normal business major, you might have an easier time getting into the MBA program or the MS in accounting if that's what you want to do. So just more options to keep in mind that is always something you can do. And we're not the only school in the area that does MBAs. UC Davis has an MBA. You can look at schools in the Bay Area. Most of the big schools in the Bay Area have MBA programs. So you're not limited to Sac State with that. We do have, if not the cheapest, one of the cheapest MBA programs in the area. Just another thing to keep in mind as you kind of go through and make your kind of decisions and choices about what your next steps are going to be. All right. So the next 6 slides have major alternatives. So the way this works is all of the jobs that you see on the screen are pulled directly from the catalog. And then in the green box, it will show what that major is. So if any of these job titles look interesting to you, or maybe something that you would be interested in going into or working in, keep an eye on what major it is. So stuff like organizational consultant, public relations professional, public affairs director, advertising executive, organizational trainer, market researcher, public service agency staff. These are all majors that are, careers that fall under the communication studies major. So if these jobs look interesting to you, you might want to look into communication studies as a major. I will say the comms major is a great major to go into if you were thinking of doing either HR, so human resources, as your business concentration, or if you were thinking of doing marketing as your business concentration. The comms department has 2 different kind of focus areas. They have one that's more organizational behavior based, and then they also have another one that's more marketing based, and that's under public relations. So that's one example of one major that you could switch into if that's what you are interested in. And all of these major options I'm going to give you today, the majors are not impacted. There's no GPA cutoff. There's no application to the major. There's no denial letter. You literally just say, hey, I want to be this major, and meet with the department chair, and they'll sign off on the form and you'll be in that major. That's typically the way it works at Sac State for most majors. But the impacted majors, which include business, have a much more lengthy application process and GPA cutoffs and all that kind of stuff. All right, so once again, communication studies, and this is all taken from the catalog. Next one is public relations consultant, budget analyst, public opinion analyst, employment counselor, urban planner, policy analyst. These are all sample jobs or sample careers from the sociology major. Once again, sociology, low unit major, you can finish in 2 years, maybe less, maybe 3 semesters, depending on how many units you want to take, and it's not an impacted major. So if any of these look interesting to you, consider looking at sociology as another major. All right, so next one. This is starting to get into a little bit of a different territory: buyer, merchandiser, quality control analyst, retail manager, product analyst, sales representative, regional manager. These are all examples of jobs that come from the family and consumer sciences major. And I think they actually have a different name for their department now. But it's basically under the umbrella of family and consumer sciences. So they actually have a lot of different kind of emphasis areas that you can go into. They have like a nutrition based one. They have just a bunch of different like what can be considered similar to our concentrations within their kind of umbrella of their major. So if any of these job positions look interesting to you, look into the family and consumer sciences major. That's something you could at least look into. All right, the next one, this is actuary, bank officer, budget analyst, entrepreneur, estate planner, financial analyst, labor relations specialist, public utilities manager, real estate agent or broker. These are all examples from the economics major. Now, economics is kind of a special major out of these ones that I've listed. It has the exact same prereqs as business, so it's going to be very easy and quick to get through. And it's a low unit major. And it's probably out of every other major at Sac State, it's going to be the most similar to business. If you were interested in the finance side of business, whether it's financial planning, real estate, risk management, insurance, or just general finance, economics might be a class or a major to look into. It's very, very similar to our finance concentration. So there's lots of overlap between the two areas, especially with economics. All right, let's see. We have one more. So the next one is public relations specialist, budget analyst, media manager, urban planner, nonprofit director, campaign manager, political consultant. These are all examples from the political science major. It used to be called government. They switched their name recently to political science. Once again, another low unit major. You can be done in 3 to 4 semesters and have your degree. And I think one of the overarching things that I'd like to also mention is that, and as crazy as this might sound, your major doesn't matter that much, especially once you've graduated. So when you graduate and you go to look for jobs, like whether you're a business major or an econ major or a comms major or political science, that matters less. What matters more is your networking skills. Who do you know? Are you I hate to say this, but in the right place at the right time? There's this term called planned happenstance. It's kind of like preparing yourself to kind of spread your net as wide as you can with contacts and networking and getting yourself out there. And you increase your chances of landing a job or an internship just by being prepared to kind of put yourself out there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Your major, even though right now, as a student who's transferring to Sac State, or maybe you're a sophomore or junior, your major is obviously very important to you right now. It's kind of what your identity is as a student. But once you graduate, you'll find that it matters less and less. And especially if you go to grad school, then it really doesn't matter. And especially once you've worked a little bit after you've graduated, your major matters less and less. It matters more about what you learn on the job, and once again, your networking skills and who you know and that type of thing. So one thing you just keep in mind as you go over. So all right, so we've talked about reasons for not getting into the business major. Just to bring it back to the two groups, once again, we've got group one. You didn't get in because you were missing a prerequisite. Your GPA is fine, but you're just missing whatever, or you had something in progress. I would recommend that you go ahead and reapply to the business major in the fall, assuming you got all the prereqs done by then. Group two, which is going to be our students with low GPAs, unless you just barely miss the cutoff, like if you have a 2.85 and you miss the cutoff by 0.1, then definitely consider reapplying in the fall, especially if your grades this semester or in the summer are good. If you get A's, that's going to bump your GPA up. If you are at I would say a 2.8 or lower, you really want to consider switching to a different major, especially if you're a new student for the fall, because you're not really going to have too many business courses to take. And after your first semester, you'll have 0 courses left to take unless you're in a different major. So I think kind of keeping those two groups in mind, that should help kind of inform your decision on what you'll need to do next. And if you're below a 2.7 GPA, you really need to think about switching to a different major, because the time it would take you to raise your GPA is probably not worth it based on time and money. And it would just extend your graduation out up to at least a year, if not more. And it would require you to get high grades in every single class, which is not guaranteed. So you could find yourself in a situation where you're a year in, you're no closer to your degree, and you're still not sure of another major to choose. So one question that we get from students is, how do I switch my major? A lot of students, after coming to this, are kind of thinking that they're going to switch their major to something else. The easiest way to do it, and this is hard because each major has a different way of doing it, a different form, a different person to sign off on it. But you basically just want to go to your major department, their website. And the easiest way to do that is just Google Sac State Economics, Sac State Communications, Sac State Political Science Department. That will bring you to their homepage, and they'll usually have some sort of contact information or instructions on how to switch your major, or maybe even like drop-in Zoom hours, or maybe you can even make an appointment with someone. Lots of different ways to get a hold of major departments. And yeah, the best thing you can do is follow the instructions on their website. And then, once you've switched your major and it's officially switched in the system, if that's what you decide to do, don't forget to declare the business minor. You'll come back to us, we'll give you the form, and then we can get you into the minor pretty fast. So don't forget to do that if that's something that you need or want to do in terms of declaring the business minor. So that's kind of the overarching way to declare a different major at Sac State. And one other thing, if you're new for the fall, meaning you're a brand new student and you're going to start this fall, you do have a mandatory orientation in June. If you are going to change your major, it would be best to figure that out before your orientation session, because a big chunk of your day is spent major advising. So we meet with students for about 2 hours out of the entire day for orientation to go over major planning, what classes to take, questions about the major, resources within the major, all that stuff. So that's something that you'll want to, if you do want to change your major, try to figure it out before. So when you sign up for orientation, you'll be signed up under your new major, because you do get lots of really good vital information about your major and classes and all that stuff at orientation. And it's your chance to really meet with your faculty and your staff advisors and get your questions answered. All right, that is it for this slide. That is pretty much the extent of the workshop. Now, what's hard is each student has an individual situation. So this workshop is designed to give you kind of like general answers to what your next steps might be. Contact information is up on the screen. You can always email us, cba-ugrad@csus.edu. Our website's up there. The Career Center is a really great resource for researching new majors, researching careers and what major would be best to go with that. There's lots of different things that you can do with the Career Center. So I put their website and their email address up there as well. So lots of different resources for you as students here. So this is pretty much the end of the actual presentation. We'll open it up for Q&A in just a minute. But I guess just to finish, depending on the reason that you didn't get into the major, that should kind of inform what your next steps will be. If it was just missing a prereq and your GPA is good, make sure to finish the prereqs by the end of summer, and then you can reapply in the future, hopefully in the fall. If your GPA was low, meaning it's below a 2.8 or so, you really need to consider switching to a different major and maybe doing a minor in business or a minor in marketing or HR, or one of our other specialized minors. But if your GPA is below a 2.8, the chances of getting in the near future are very, very slim, given that we're an impacted major and we have that GPA cutoff that's been pretty much at a 2.95 for the past 3 to 4 years. Okay, so that is the end of the presentation. I will go ahead and open it up to questions. You can ask a question in the chat. You can raise your hand and then just unmute yourself when I call on you. If no one's talking, feel free to unmute yourself as long as we don't get too many people at the same time. So I'm going to go into the chat and see here. So David asked how to switch your major. I think you asked that like 6 minutes ago. So I think I answered that. If you retake some of the courses you did bad on, would the new grade change the GPA? Yes, that's one thing. I did actually forget to mention that. You can't always repeat poor grades. But once again, it's a time money thing. Is it worth going back and repeating classes that you haven't passed? And can you guarantee that you're going to get an A in the class? Because if you repeat a class and you get a C, that's not helping you. That's really not really going to change your GPA that much. So you can repeat previous grades that are poor, but it's not like going to guarantee you getting back into the program. Stephanie, did you have a question or no?
No, I was just
good.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought I saw you on mute. Alex, what's your question? Alex Gonzalez.
Yeah, so you mentioned if you have like a 2.85, which I do, you said it'd be good to reapply it to the major.
For sure.
I'm kind of like stuck in between. Should I like do that
and
like on the major or pick a different major? Or
Alex, are you new for the fall or are you already at
Sac
no,
State? I'm a transfer student. I've been in school for like a while now. So like,
okay, but you're
kind of
not
at
new
that point where like I'm trying to like just kind of get done quick, but like at the same time I want to like maximize like my potential and whatnot on.
Okay, but you're a student at Sac State right now.
Yeah, but
okay.
I took the semester off to apply to the program, didn't get in the program.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So you're not taking any classes this semester?
I plan like I want to take classes as soon as I can, but like I already did all my prereqs, so I'm not sure. Like if you have any recommendations on like if I should take certain classes, like maybe like because you mentioned economics, like would I be able to without changing the major? Because I'm expressed interest in business, so would I still be able to take like econ classes and then
you can if you want, yeah, for sure. You can always transition that into an econ minor too if you get into the business major in the future. The problem with your situation is since you're not taking classes this semester, your GPA is not going to change, right? So it's still going to be at that 2.85. If you can get your GPA to 2.9 or 2.95 in the next over the summer, maybe if you take some summer classes, that could increase your chances of getting into the major. But you're still in a kind of a predicament, right? Because it's like you're probably out of business courses to take, and you are still expressed interest in business. So it's hard to give you a suggestion. I would say reapply to the business program one more time in the fall and see what happens. And I would say if you don't get in after that second attempt, maybe it's time to choose a different major at that point.
Okay, so I should kind of go for like towards the econ route.
I mean,
and, like,
how did you like your econ macro and micro courses? Were they terrible or were they okay? Like, or
no,
did you enjoy
those
them?
are good. Like I'm interested in all that and like finance and marketing. Like I was initially going for the marketing degree, but like also like I'm interested in the finance. So
I mean, honestly, if your response is like that, you may just want to consider switching to econ now. If you enjoyed your lower division econ courses, then you probably will like your chances, in the major going forward in econ. So I don't know, maybe now since you said that, I'm thinking that it might make more sense for you to switch to econ and just start with that and get a full schedule in the fall of classes.
Yeah. Does
that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just I'm in that predicament. So
you can always do a business minor. So that's always an option, and you can still get that with your degree in econ.
Yeah, I'll probably email you more about that.
Okay.
Just to like verify.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next person. Fanu, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Actually, I basically I got everything that you just explained, and I pretty much my questions are answered. But there's only one thing that actually I'm kind of like confused about it, is that I'm still at ARC, American River College, and my very last semester is not completed yet. I guess it's May 19 we're entitled to graduate.
Okay.
My GPA is low, on 2.7. So once they basically they announce our grades, and I'm pretty much, I guess I'm getting A in 4 classes. Do you think this grades are going to be affecting the fall 2021 at Sac State, or those are not going to be counted for?
No, so if you reapply to the major in the fall, we will take every class that you've done GPA-wise up through the summer. So they would definitely count if you were to reapply in the fall semester to the major. Does that make sense?
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're at 2.7 and you get all A's this semester, that's going to push you into the competitive area. So I would definitely recommend reapplying once the next application cycle comes up in the fall.
And also, if I would have changed my major to, if I would have go ahead and change my major to human resource representative, is there something that I need to go back to ARC and take some more classes, or the classes that I've received? Because I've received my admissions, and I've already consult with the both representative at the Sac State and also at the American River College. They told me that everything is pretty much completed. You don't really need no classes anymore. So
changing your major, there is no human resources major. It's all business, and then you choose a concentration. So HR, if you want to do that concentration, you would have to get into the business major. So that's you still have to meet the GPA cutoff for that. But yeah, there would be no more lower division courses to do. Your upper division, and that's all you're doing going forward now.
So even for the human resource, 2.95 is required?
Yeah, well, yeah, because we have one major. It's just business. That's the only major that we offer. Once you're in the major, you have to choose at least one concentration, but the concentration is not your major. Your major is business.
Got it.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, understood. Thank you.
No problem. Alex, did you have another question?
I had a question. My name is Brandon. When you get a chance.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, Alex, did you just raise your hand again, or was that up already?
Oh no, I'll still wait. I'm still just debating.
Okay. Sorry, who was that just popped in? I forgot your name.
Hi, that was me. My name is Van.
Oh yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, I had a question. So I did get like my admission acceptance and email, but then I also got another one that due to high volume, I applied into the business sector, and they said that I'm still admitted into Sac State. There just might be some changes with the major concentration, I believe. So how will that work? And like, because I'm at FLC right now, Folsom Lake College, and I have taken all my general education classes. So let's say when I transfer in fall, what will be the classes that I will be taking, et cetera, just depending on just because there's a high volume in that major.
Yeah. What's your GPA right now?
So I am currently at a 2.5, 2.4, and then if there's a boost, then that, yeah.
Yeah. So once again, that's well below our cutoff. You'll have like one semester's worth of classes to take in the fall, but you'll have to switch your major to something else. If you're coming in at a 2.4 and our cutoff is a 2.95, that's really well below our cutoff. So you're going to really want to consider doing a different major, because you're going to run out of classes pretty much right away when you get to Sac State.
You said I'm going to run out of classes?
Yeah, because once again, if you're not in the business major when you start at Sac State, you're going to run out of classes fairly soon. You have about 5 classes that you can take before you're out completely. And once
Okay.
again, if you're coming in with a 2.4 overall GPA, you're not going to be able to raise that up to a 3.0 to be competitive in a short amount of time. It would take you years probably to get your GPA up.
Okay. So, so basically I just wouldn't be able to continue with the major. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, you're not in the business major. You're undeclared right now. And so you don't have a major at Sac State. You can still start at Sac State, but you'll be undeclared until you choose a different major and figure out, a different route.
Okay. And then, but my summer and my spring classes are still like pending because they're not ended. So if that basically makes a change, and I
Yes.
kind of get into hub higher, or not, maybe not exactly 2.9, but a little closer to the cutoff, that would make a change, right?
It would, but once again, you have just the fall semester to get a full load of classes. So if you're not in the major by spring of 2022, then you're going to run out of classes to take. And, if you're at a 2.4, I don't know the specifics. So I don't know how many units you have. And if you're repeating any poor grades or anything like that, that can change your GPA. But to raise your GPA from a 2.4 to a 2.95 in one semester is usually impossible, just given the numbers.
Okay, got it. So what would be the next thing I do? Like, let's say if my GPA does go up a little bit, like in fall of Sac State, like what classes will I actually be able to take if it's like?
Well, you'll get more information at orientation if you still decide to go to business orientation, but
Okay.
there's only 3 business classes that you can take while being undeclared. After that, you have no more courses left to take. So,
okay.
you may want to
Got it.
consider switching to a different major so you can start in the major right away and have a full load of classes for, each semester that you're here at Sac State.
That makes sense. Okay. Got it. So I can either change the major or, okay, got it.
Yeah, if you don't change your major and your GPA doesn't go up significantly in literally like the next couple of months, then your chances of getting into the business major are just going to be slim. I mean, you can reapply in the fall, but like I said, unless you're somehow magically up to a 2.95, your chances of getting in are going to be pretty slim.
For that major, basically. So I'll just have to choose
Correct.
not something that is not business.
Yeah, like, in the presentation, I went over like 6 different majors that you could do that are very similar to business. You can always do a minor in business too. So there's lots of information there. And yeah, so.
And then finance is, what if it's like, I'm trying to do finance, would that also be?
Finance is not a major at Sac State. It's a concentration within the business major. But if you're interested in finance, you might look at economics. I don't know how you felt about your macro and microeconomics courses, but economics is very similar to finance in terms of like career options and what you can do.
So instead of business, I can take economics with concentration of finance?
No. There's no concentration. So either you do business as a major if you get in, and then you choose a concentration, or you can choose a completely different major. So you could do a major in economics, but you don't have a concentration.
Okay. Well, how will I still be able to do finance was my question. Like you were saying, that there's still.
You won't be able to do finance. That's within the business major. It's a concentration in the business major. So once again, if you want to do finance, you would have to raise your GPA to a competitive level and apply to the business major and be accepted.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was just saying economics is similar to finance in terms of like the careers that you can go into.
Got it. Makes sense.
Okay. Sydney, did you have a question?
Yeah, so my my current GPA is a 2.84.
Okay.
And at this point, I've taken all my prereqs and pretty much finished all my GEs.
Okay.
So if I wanted to reapply in the fall semester, what classes would you recommend, or like could I even take?
Are you a new student for the fall, or are you at Sac State now?
I'm at Sac State.
Okay. Have you taken the bridge courses yet? DS 101, Management 102, and HROB 101?
Yeah, so I'm in those right now.
Okay. Not
DS 101 though. I still have to take that.
Okay. So yeah, you're kind of limited. You're kind of the example of like you run out of courses to take eventually. You can take DS 101 in the fall, but if you're really at a 2.84 GPA, you want to try to get the highest grades possible this semester so you can reapply to the major in the fall, and then you could start in the spring. The only problem with that is that you may have this fall semester where you're either just taking one course or not taking any courses at all. You may want to take the semester off. That's kind of up to you. But other than DS 101, there's really no other courses that you can take.
Okay, what if, like, in order to bring my GPA up even more, if I just took like any class, would that even affect anything?
Yeah, you could do that. But keep in mind, if you're going to reapply in the fall, you only have through the end of summer to increase your GPA for that application cycle. So you could go to the community college and just take a couple easy classes over the summer where you can like guarantee getting A's in them. That's an option as well.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, you're close. You're one of those examples. You're like right on the line. I would definitely recommend reapplying, but just make sure to try to get the highest grades possible this semester.
Okay, and then my summer courses, if I were to take any, would be included in the count.
Yes.
Like, okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. Alex,
Hey,
did you have another
Brandon?
question? Oh yeah, Stephanie, sorry, go ahead.
Real quick, some students have asked if there's anywhere they can view this recording. Are you gonna
Yes.
be able to share that?
Yeah, so you got to give me a little bit of time. It's probably not going to be up till tomorrow because I have to render it and then upload it to our YouTube channel. I promise it will be up by tomorrow morning though. I'll probably get it up tonight to our YouTube channel. And so actually, let me put a link to that in here. Let's see. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I'll drop the link to our YouTube channel. So our YouTube channel has a lot of different things that you can look at. We have previous videos that we've done. We have just kind of like get to know the staff videos and stuff like that. So if you go to that link, that brings you to our main YouTube channel. But I'll try to get this uploaded by tonight, but definitely by tomorrow morning. All right, Alex, did you have another question?
Yeah, so you're saying, so like, oh, because I took a semester off, right, and I didn't get accepted, like, so basically I have to take like some classes, and I want to do the summer class, like some summer classes, so I could boost that GPA up since I'm at a 2.85.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I could, so would I take econ classes, like, or would I have to actually switch my major to take those econ classes, or could I just take some of those econ classes, reapply in the fall semester to the business program, because I do want to get like a concentration in finance or something?
Yeah. You can always do that. The econ classes, as far as I know, are not restricted, so you can take them as long as you meet the prereqs, which you should. But yeah, you can absolutely do that, and then maybe you get an econ minor. That's something you can always do going forward.
Okay, yeah, that answers my question. What econ classes would you recommend? Like, because there's only those two, right? Like the micro, and because I already did micro.
Yeah, there's intermediate micro and intermediate macro. Last I checked, the intermediate micro was full for summer. But Alex, did you start here as a freshman at Sac State or no?
No, I actually transferred from Monterey Peninsula College.
Okay, I honestly, if you're just trying to raise your GPA, I would take some community college classes over the summer, ones that are super easy that you can get an A in. Just because Sac State summer classes are expensive. I
put my account on hold, and remember, or you told me that like you can only do it once per semester. So wouldn't I have to?
You can only do what once per semester?
Like one account hold, like on my like student account, like I can only take one semester off at a time. So wouldn't
but summer doesn't count for that. That's just fall and spring. So you could take summer classes at a local community college, and it's way cheaper than coming to Sac State and taking courses.
Okay. And you think I should just take like random classes or like?
Yeah, I mean, so this gets into like how much work are you willing to put in to get into the business major, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's up to you if you want to take random classes, but if you can take a couple random classes to raise your GPA, that's only going to help your chances of getting in the future, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, that's what also lowered my GPA, because I took some random classes there too that I didn't do good in, like some Photoshop classes.
Well,
and,
was this at NPC or here at Sac State?
Yeah, this was like back in the day, and it lowered it lowered my GPA a lot because I like randomly took them. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I should just take those classes, raise my GPA, and then yeah.
Yeah, you know, one other thing I forgot to mention is you can try to get what's called academic renewal or grade forgiveness. And you can only get it from community colleges. So if you go to NPC and say, hey, these poor grades that have nothing to do with anything I'm doing now, can you remove them? There's a good chance they could just take it off your record, and that increases your GPA like overnight. So that's something to look into, but you'd have to go back to NPC to inquire about that.
Okay. And then lastly, you said, and I could get an Econ minor, or like say I got in the business program, I was going for the competition. You said I could also go for that Econ minor too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like, let's say you do take a couple Econ courses to kind of dip your toes in and see how it is. And then let's say you do end up getting into the business major, you could just do an Econ minor with those courses that you've already taken.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. It's just like, they're all pretty like related, you know, so it's kind of like hard to decide, because like you're saying, it's a lot of it's about like networking and all that, and just like what I've realized. So
that's true. All right, I'm gonna go to the next one. Giovanni, do you have a question?
Yeah, I got here kind of late.
That's okay.
So what happens when you run out of classes to take? You just have to take random classes?
Well, are you a new student for the fall, or are you current at Sac State?
This is my second semester.
Okay. At Sac State?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you a transfer student initially though?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you run out of classes to take, you either have to switch your major to something else, or, I mean, you can take random classes. We wouldn't recommend doing that. It's a lot of money and time. Potentially wasted. But yeah, it depends on your GPA and your situation, but you may really want to think about switching to a different major. So when the fall comes up, you'll have a full set of classes to take towards a major, towards graduation.
Okay, so like what majors would be available? Do you know? Like
what concentration were you interested in business?
Financing and real estate track.
Okay. The recommendation that we would give, if that's what you're telling us, is economics. Now, economics is very similar to finance. It's not the exact same, but if you hated your macro and microeconomics courses, then I wouldn't recommend doing economics as a major, obviously, but it depends. Like if you were interested in macro and micro and like what you learned in those classes, you may want to look into economics as a major.
So you don't need to go to the business program for that?
No, a lot of schools, they're combined, but at Sac State, economics is a completely different major. So it's separate.
Okay. So the reason it's limited, is it because it's impacted? Is it an impacted major?
For business?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We're an impacted major. We have too many students that want to be business majors and not enough seats in classes for them, unfortunately. But yeah, it's because we're an impacted major.
Do you know if the courses that we have for the business major, like are they eligible for other CSUs?
Yes. In general, all so I can't say for sure, but most CSU business programs have very similar prerequisites that you've already taken. Some CSUs may have slightly different classes, but for the most part, all of the classes you've taken should be able to transfer to any other CSU.
Oh, okay.
With that said, most of the other CSU business programs are not impacted. So you would be able to get into them right away. We're one of I think it's like us, San Diego State, and maybe like San Jose State that are the three like CSUs that have actual impacted business majors.
Yeah, because I actually talked to somebody at Stanislaus, and they told me like I would be able to get directly into the program.
Yeah, I mean, Stanislaus is a small school. They are probably wanting more students to come into their majors. So yeah, once again, I don't know where you live, but if you can do Turlock, which is where Stanislaus is located, then maybe that's another option you could look into. But yeah, if you go there, you'd probably have no problem getting into their major.
Yeah, because all the classes they have for the business program are located in Stockton, and I live in Stockton.
Oh,
so I wasn't
cool.
aware. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. But
yeah,
do you know like the DS 101, the HROB, or do you know if we need those to get into the program at a different CSU?
Probably not, but they probably would transfer over as required courses at a different CSU business program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I really need to know.
Cool. All right. Sydney, did you have another question?
Yes, sorry. So
No, that's okay.
if I wanted to take DS 101 during the summer at like a community college, would I be able to find like an equivalent class?
So DS 101 is upper division because it's 100 or higher. You won't be able to get those at the community college. Any class at Sac State that's 100 or higher in number, you'll have to take at Sac State.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right. Any other questions before we finish up? Stephanie, did you get all the chat questions or any confusion there?
I just got one more question.
Oh yeah,
that's okay.
Sure.
Sorry about that. Who do I need to consult to switch my major at Sac State?
Sorry, say that again. Who do you need to contact?
Who do I need to talk to changing my major at Sac State?
Do you know which major you want to change to?
I probably would think about it like in 1 or 2 days before my orientation comes up. But
okay.
Before actually I choose the major myself, I need to just talk to someone.
Absolutely. I would probably point you towards the Career Center for that. I'll paste the link into the chat. I had it up on the PowerPoint, but I closed that down. But if you go to the Career Center's website, you can either email them or maybe request an appointment and see if you can meet with a career counselor. Now, they're going to be much more kind of open-ended with you on like what kind of careers do you want and what major might match up with those careers best. If you do find a major that you want to switch to, you'll have to contact that major department specifically to actually get changed into that major.
Understood. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So for the requirements for the GPA, does it change every semester, or has it been the same for a while?
It does change every semester, but it's like only by 0.05. So like it may go down to a 2.9 or maybe up to a 3.0, but it's really going to stay within that 2.9 to 3.0 range going forward. And it has for the past like 4 years. So we can see just based on the data, what it's going to be. We don't know the exact number, but we can tell you the range that it's going to be in.
Okay. And so if I was to get rid of some courses that I didn't need, and I didn't have like a good like let's say a C, for instance, would that bring up my GPA?
It would. Careful getting rid of C grades though, because C grades are considered passing. So if it's like a GE class, you would lose credit for it. What you really want to be doing is make sure any F grades from your community colleges are not counting. And then you can also look at D grades as well. But you want to be really looking at F and D grades.
Yeah, I don't have any Fs. I think I don't have like one D, but
okay.
Yeah.
If a lot of students are in the situation where they just have a lot of C grades and you can't really do anything about C's, you're pretty much stuck with them.
Yeah. So for instance, if like let's say you're taking four classes and you get like straight A's, how like do you know how much it would bring it up? GPA?
So this is hard because each student has different amounts of units they've taken. Basically, the more units you've taken, the harder it is to change your GPA. So if you've only got like 45 units, your GPA is pretty flexible. You can change it in one semester. If you've got like 100 units, it's really hard to change your GPA. A semester of straight A's with 100 units completed is going to make a very small difference in your overall GPA. So, you know, this is where it's hard to answer you specifically because we don't know, or I don't know what your specific situation is.
Oh, okay.
All right. Anyone have any other questions before we finish up?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I have a 2.89 GPA,
Okay.
and I had 1D in a Spanish class from community college, and I qualified for the waiver for it, like the academic waiver, but I don't know, like, so if I did that from my community college grades and I'm already a Sac State student, does that even affect it at that point or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it hasn't been excluded already, right? It's still counting.
Yeah, it's still counting.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a 4-unit course, right? Or 5 units?
Yeah, it was 5 units.
Yeah, that would be huge. If you could get that renewed or forgiven, then you just need to give us a new copy of your transcript and we'll take that into account when you reapply in the future.
Would you recommend that I want an MBA, so I was planning to get an MBA regardless. So
Okay.
I transferred from a community college, but I've actually spent a year here total at Sac State. I transferred in the fall and I'm here in the spring. So I've already been, and I spent 3 years at a community college. So I've already spent like 4 years. So would you recommend that I just like declare another major and then get an MBA from here instead, or?
That might be better. Did you already take the bridge courses like DS, management, and HR?
Yeah, I'm in them right now.
Yeah, so you have nothing left to take. Yeah, so you may just want to switch to a different major and finish that and then just do the MBA. Honestly, I mean, you're so close with the GPA, so it's hard to, I would hate to see you not do business, but at the same time, you don't have anything to take in the fall. So you would lose that semester minimum, which that would not be good, right? After being in school for so long.
Yeah.
So you may just want to pick another low unit major, just power through it and get that MBA.
Yeah, and then would there be any point to get a minor in business then if I were to get a major in business as well? Or
you mean a major in something else?
No, I mean getting an MBA, but also like tacking on a business minor to.
Well, if you've done the bridge courses, you're 1 class away from the business minor. I would say it's worth it at that point. It's 1 class. So even if you are going to get the MBA, you might as well get the business minor for 1 extra class.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Because I was kind of thinking about that too, you know, if it was worth it or not. But yeah, it kind of helps making the classes feel like they're worth it. So yeah,
it sucks. You really just barely missed the cutoff. So it's really hard for students in that situation because you're just so close. But yeah, you may just want to consider switching for the fall and just finishing out and doing the MBA.
Yeah, that's kind of what my dad wanted to get to the business world as an MBA. That's what I'm stuck on now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
okay.
Thank you.
All right, Jasmine. Thanks. Carrie, I'll make yours the last question. Then we do got to finish up. Go ahead, Carrie.
Okay. So my question is, at this term, like I've been working on my GPA for a good minute, but it was still under 2.9. But at the end of this term, I anticipate being at like, you know, around 2.9-ish before all the boosts, before I transfer to Sac State and whatnot.
Okay.
I'm wondering, is it like a good idea to like anticipate to reapply in spring if I get to 2.9 by the end of this?
Yes, if you're at a 2.9, you're in that ballpark of being competitive. It's not guaranteed, but you're in the ballpark. So I would definitely recommend reapplying if you're at a 2.9 at the end of this semester for sure.
Would the boosts applied from transferring still apply?
No, but you do get the 0.1 boost for being a local applicant. So that will give you at least a 0.1 boost.
All right.
Yeah. So, you know, once again, it's all about getting the highest grades possible this semester to increase your chances of getting in going forward.
What is considered a local applicant?
Anyone at Sac State. So once you're a student at Sac State, you are considered a local applicant.
Oh, okay.
All right. I am going to go ahead and finish up. I want to thank everybody for coming here. There's still 9 of you here, hanging tough. But thank you guys for coming. We do this to try to help students. We don't like to be the bearer of bad news. We don't like to say, no, you can't be a business major. If it was up to us, we would accept everybody. But unfortunately, we have to be the ones that enforce the rules that were passed by our faculty years ago. So I hope this was helpful for you. Maybe you're going to change your major. Maybe you're going to try one more time to reapply to the business major. Maybe you'll do a business minor. Maybe you'll do the MBA. Hopefully you leave this with some options and less questions that you had compared to when we started. So thank you all for coming. And once again, this will be up on our YouTube channel, hopefully tonight, but definitely by tomorrow morning. So I put the link to the YouTube channel in the chat. You can also get to it by going to our homepage. We have a YouTube video embedded in our homepage, and then you can go from there, you can get to our main channel. So check that out and you'll be able to see this video in all of its glory by tomorrow morning. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good evening.